life is not about these future goals. It's not all about these future goals. It's about the small moments that we experience in between, the little beautiful moments that sometimes we take for granted. And we forget that purpose isn't something that you find someday that will happen in the future. It's something that you can create today, every day, by living with intention in the right here and the right now. Because at the end of the day, your present does dictate your future. So don't disconnect from those moments and the people that are sitting right in front of you. Hello and welcome to Beyond the Scale. I'm your co-host, Maddie, and today we're talking about living in the present moment and finding fulfillment in the here and the now. We live in a pretty chaotic world, so sometimes we're just so focused on future goals, where we're headed, and that's okay. It's great to set goals for the future, but sometimes we get so wrapped up and hyper-focused on the future that we just forget to be in the present moment. And so I want to give you some actionable steps to be more present and to stay focused on what truly matters and the relationships that matter rather than getting so tangled up in what's to come. So when I first started my fitness journey, I was 20 pounds overweight. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, if I lose the first 10 pounds, then I can be happy. Then my life will be better. So I lost the 10 pounds. And I remember I didn't even celebrate that win. I wasn't stoked about it. I was like, okay, we did that. Now, if I lose the next 10 pounds, then my life will be perfect, amazing, awesome, no problems. I lost those 10 pounds and I just kept always focusing on the future, like, oh, grow my glutes, do this, build muscle. And I just stopped being present and in the moment and grateful for where I had come from. And same thing with my career. It's like, if I open a gym, then everything will be great. I'll be happy. Perfect. And it just kept going like that. And I found myself constantly chasing these future goals, always thinking that my happiness and my worth would be in the next milestone, in the next thing that I achieved. And I felt, despite hitting these things, hitting these growth marks, I still felt like there was something missing. I still felt like I wasn't really good enough. And I remember talking to one of my coaches and longtime friends. This was about a year and a half of us being open. I remember talking to him. I was like, okay, we only, keyword only, have this many members. We need this many more. We need to get them by this time. What are we going to do to get there? And he was like, Maddie, that's great. It's great that you have these goals. These, like, do you remember there was a time when we were just happy with the 5 people that we were allowed to have in here during the pandemic? Like, do you remember that? And now look where we are. Look at this room, this session filled with clients that are working on themselves and whose lives that we're changing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had forgotten. I had forgotten the work that we had put in. I forgot our humble beginnings. I had forgot everything because I was so focused on the next thing that I had almost lost touch with the people in the room I was in, almost missed out on the relationships with the people that were in that very room. And same thing with my body. Like, I was like, look at where you are now. Look at the amazing things you can do with your body now. You can walk up that flight of stairs, not get winded. You can lift heavy weights. You're not limited by the things that you can do with your body. Look at that. And I started to realize that I just wasn't being grateful for here and now and where I was at. And so I started to become more mindful in the little moments in my business and in my life and started grounding to what was happening around me. And that's when I started to reconnect to my life and to the people in my life. And what I realized and the epiphany for me is life is not about these future goals. It's not all about these future goals. It's about the small moments that we experience in between, the little beautiful moments that sometimes we take for granted. And we forget that purpose isn't something that you find someday that will happen in the future. It's something that you can create today, every day, by living with intention in the right here and the right now. Because at the end of the day, your present does dictate your future. So don't disconnect from those moments and the people that are sitting right in front of you. So I have a few things that you can practice in order to be more present. And these are things I want you to do for the next 30 days before you write them off and say, this isn't for me. Okay, actually practice them and see the difference and the change that it's making in your life. Do what works for you at the end of the day. Want you to practice mindfulness. There's a ton of ways in which you can do this, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. And it doesn't just have to be breathing. Breathing is great. It's a great starting point just to ground yourself in your breath for a few moments. Great. It can also be mindful eating. We are people who are busy and on the go, and you can't tell me that you haven't had a meal standing up and just like, I need this for fuel. Let's go to the next thing. But mindful eating can make a huge difference. Just focusing on like every bite you take, that's mindfulness. That's grounding you to the here and now instead of, I have all this paperwork to do. I have all this stuff that needs to get done. Mindful walking is also something you can do. Instead of hurry on to your next mission, your next location, just focus on the steps that you're taking. So mindfulness comes in various ways. And even if it's just taking a pause before you send a text message, just being more mindful. And you can pick different times of the day, like before bed, just take a few quick moments, reflect on the day you've had. And to my next point, starting your day with a little intention. It's just a small thing, and it can be as straightforward as, I want to be more present with my kids today, or I want to put in my best effort into this project at work today. It can be very, very straightforward. It can be, I'm going to smile at every stranger I see today, right? Just set something that you have to look forward to in your day. That way you're more intentional with your connections with people. And then always reflect at the end of the day, what went well? Where did I get distracted? Where did I let my mind wander? Because it'll happen. That's okay. It's about practice and just give yourself grace, reflect, and then do better next time, tomorrow. And then very important that you prioritize what's important now. Identify what matters to you in this moment because it'll always change, but maybe it's more your relationships with your spouse right now. Maybe that's what's important to you. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your personal growth. But whatever it is, make that a priority and pour into that in your moments. And this, again, it's going to change over time. And don't get caught up in the past. This is different than reflecting. Reflecting equals learning. Don't get caught up in the past, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Don't let your mind go back there because what's done is done. You can only move forward. You can only grow from here because life is too precious and too uncertain for anything else. So again, by practicing mindfulness, those little moments throughout the day, eating, drinking, even driving, setting daily intentions, reflecting regularly on what you could have done better, and prioritizing what matters most to you, you can live a life that's more on purpose instead of just letting it pass you by. So again, don't let it move by you without experiencing all of it. Those moments with your kids, family, friends, in your business, your milestones, celebrate those things and be present in them because remember, your life's purpose is not waiting for you down the road. It's something you can create right now, here and today. So thank you for tuning in and be sure to share this with anyone in your life that might find value in it and go live a life with purpose. Thank you.